Hey there everybody, welcome back. Today I'm taking a look at Ikaruga on the Dreamcast. This is a shooter developed by Treasure, a company known for games like Gunstar Heroes and Radiant Silvergun, and it was released in arcades and on the Dreamcast in Japan only in 2001 and later on the GameCube and Xbox Live Arcade. This is yet another Dreamcast shooter that tends to go for a pretty high price online, and again the trick is figuring out if it's worth what people are charging for it. The plot centers around a young pilot named Shinra as he fights against an evil empire called the Divine Ones, who possess the power of the gods after discovering an ancient buried tome on the small island of Horai. Shinra is the last of an elite group of pilots known as the Hitekai, and when he's finally shot down, he's rescued by a group of people from a small village called Ikaruga. After he's nursed back to health, it is revealed to him that the people of the village possess a fighter plane, also known as Ikaruga, which is unique in that it integrates both positive and negative polarities and can switch between the two on command. So Shinra takes off in the Ikaruga to take on the Divine Ones all by himself, or with the aid of a mercenary named Kagari if you're playing two players. You wouldn't really get any of this if you didn't read the manual, as there are no cutscenes in Ikaruga, or at least none that I'm aware of. This is a big departure from, say, Radiant Silvergun, which had some pretty lengthy cutscenes. As one might expect, this being a Treasure game and all, Ikaruga isn't just a standard shoot-'em-up affair, incorporating the ability to switch between light and dark very quickly. This adds a whole new dynamic to the classic shooter setup. As enemies appear that are either light or dark, you swap between the two forms to do the most damage you can. Light hurts dark and dark hurts light obviously, but you can also absorb enemy bullets of the same color. And absorbing bullets adds to a power meter on the side of the screen that when full allows you to fire a very powerful homing shot, and it's best to save it for the bosses. Also, this ability comes into play heavily in sections where there aren't necessarily a lot of enemies, but a whole bunch of bullets and lasers, etc. on screen. These segments demand quick reaction time and careful maneuvering, almost making it feel less like a shooter and more like a puzzle game at times, and sometimes requiring multiple repeat playthroughs, as these areas can be very hard to predict your first time around. If I had to complain about the gameplay in Ikaruga, it would probably be about the rather steep learning curve. Don't get me wrong, challenge in a game, especially in a shooter, is a good thing, but there were times in Ikaruga when I just felt overwhelmed, and it came on very quickly. I can get through the first two levels without much issue, but somewhere in the third level is when things take a turn. Especially the third level boss, which is very difficult. It might just be that I'm still not so experienced with this game, and need a bit more practice to get the patterns down, but I found it to be really difficult. There is a practice mode that lets you play through problem stages as many times as you want though, so that's really helpful, and the controls are spot on, and the hit detection is very good too, so the challenge is fair. Overall, I really enjoy the gameplay in Ikaruga, but I don't really prefer it over some of my other favorite shooters on the Dreamcast like Chaos Field and Gigawing. So I'd say it's on par with those. The graphics and sound in Ikaruga are both pretty good. The stages are all fully rendered in 3D and they look really nice. You'll transition between exterior and interiors, and there's always a sense of constant motion. The enemy designs are cool, with the bosses being the most standout, and there's also an art gallery included with some art that looks rather cool. The soundtrack is actually a little hit or miss for me. It's definitely not bad, but it's nothing that I find myself humming afterwards. It's kind of nondescript symphonic techno music. It fits the action, but it's still nothing I find super impressive. So on the whole, good graphics and decent music. So the question I asked was, is this version of Ikaruga worth the $80 to $100 it typically goes for online? And I'd say no. It's a very good game, but like I said, I don't really place it above some of the other great shooters on the system. It's much cheaper to buy on the GameCube though, and like I said, it was made available on Xbox Live Arcade as well, so that's how I'd recommend playing it for those of us who don't really want to break the bank. Definitely give it a try if you have the chance. It's very challenging and a lot of fun. Check it out.